What a palaver. Hey,
Oh my
G-Banger.
God. G-banger, proper palaver the last couple of days, hasn't it? I mean, stress levels have been high.
Yeah, it's
First world
basically,
problems.
yeah. Jude lives in an area in the world where she might as well be an indigenous population in the middle of the Amazon, and there's an internet outage which has lasted about 5 days, which is just freaking ridiculous
I know.
in
I
this
mean,
day and age.
I spoke to a guy yesterday on my broadband provider, and he was like, "Yeah, it's supposed to be being fixed, but I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I can't tell you anything." I was like, "Is it or isn't it going to be fixed today?" And he's like, "Yes,
Yeah,
but then it might drop out again." And I was like, "Oh." So yes,
yeah.
this is why I'm on a sofa.
Hmm.
Uh, I don't know what to tell you. It's been
Yeah.
stressful, hasn't it?
In a different location. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was always like, it's like, are we even going to get to record an episode for this week?
I
This
was
I don't
really
like that.
worried.
Yeah.
No, I was a bit scared, and
Yeah, exactly.
I just hope
And
the
so this
Wi-Fi sorts
is,
itself.
yeah, well, this is a very impromptu setup. It was like, okay, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this Friday. It was like, we tried to link up. It took like an hour to even
Oh,
get a steady connection. We were like, no, this ain't just gonna happen. And
nightmare.
then, it's the next day, and I'm literally about to get ready for a workout, and I get a message from Jude. And it's crazy that I even looked at it because when I'm gonna work out, I'm not looking at my phone. I'm not checking messages or anything. So she was like, I've got a bit of time now. I'm at my parents' place. Can we do it? And I was like, screw it. I'm going to do it right now.
Let's go.
And
Let's go.
just
Let's
just
go.
go for it.
Could you imagine though,
Yeah.
like if you were like, oh, we could do it 8 o'clock tonight, like after you've done what, a 6 hour course,
Yeah. Six.
vestibular,
Yeah, exactly. That's fine. I
and
would have had plenty to talk about. Plenty of vestibular
that's
to talk
true.
about, probably.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we would have talked about all that. But yeah, I was like, by 8 o'clock tonight, I will have lost the power of speech. So just texted you on the
Mm,
off chance and was like, what about now? Should we do it now? How about
yeah.
now? Let's do it now. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Exactly. Just roll with the punches. Roll with the
Wi-Fi,
times.
man.
Just make it
Honestly
happen.
though, it just goes to show though that it kind of rules everything at the moment. Like when a lot of your business runs online. I mean, I was freaked yesterday because I had an online class today, and it was like, what am I going to do? Like lots of
Mm,
people, if there's any technical difficulties and you drop out, it's not great. And
yeah.
so I was on the phone to the people that I work with, and we all sorted it out. And it's like, right, just get to your parents and do it from there. But yeah, the stress. It's like, what am I going to do if it keeps happening? Anyway, that's my life. So yes,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. You just when you think about sometimes it's like well, I mean, like the whole pandemic has shown as well, right? Everything's on a bit of a knife edge,
yes,
and is like globalization, and you have to ask yourself the question of like, oh yeah, that's great, but also what's the cost of it? And
mm,
there's this clear cost of, well, if something happens in another part of the world, everybody's fucked, right? And
yeah,
not just something as simple as this, like supply chains, for example. Is like people
mm,
worrying where like you outsource everything, and then it's like, okay, well, you can't rely on yourself at all in any kind of way to bring in less food.
mm,
So stuff like that becomes a problem. So then, yeah, Wi-Fi, as beautiful as it is, the internet, as the it's just changed our civilization and stuff, but at the same time it's like
no,
then you become heavily reliant on it, and you just think to yourself, wait, how am I going to get anything done if I don't have
yeah.
this thing?
I mean, it's all going to go to shit if you rely on something so heavily,
Mm,
and when it does go down, and you realise you cannot work, you cannot connect, you cannot do anything that you took for granted. It's like I had all this stuff scheduled in. It's like, oh yeah, 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 and you just kind of roll with it, and then suddenly when it all goes down, it's like, what happens?
mm,
And that's something, like you were saying, it's like when you outsource everything. So I don't like that. I like being quite
mm,
self-sufficient, and this is
yeah,
stuff that we cannot be self-sufficient with. So
yeah.
it's like I can't just wind up a generator and make Wi-Fi happen. I've got to figure out a plan B. You know what I mean? So
I reckon, yeah, well, that is the plan B. You got to create a generator now.
generator.
Just imagine you like a hamster on a wheel, man. Just
Just
running to get that
cycling.
internet going. But
Yeah.
that's a good one as well. I think somebody tried it once, where they were like, "We're going to try and create power with I can't, if it was a cycling or if it was a rowing machine. I don't know what it was. I just remember it's just something that's just flickering
All
there in my
right.
mind, where it's just come back, where it's like a way to get people. I guess a way to get people to exercise is like you have to generate your own power to
Can you imagine
survive.
though?
The thing is, you just at the time or whatever I saw, there's just no way that they could generate enough power. To sustain, say, like a day's worth of electricity to function or something. But
No
maybe
way.
someday we could do that, and that would be awesome. I think that would be great. I think what if my life depended, we'll just kind
Get your
of
steps
in a
in.
yeah, exactly. Your life depends on you getting your steps in and doing the cycling, which is what it used to be like. You know, your life depended on your ability to go out and go get some food or rear some food or grow it. Nowadays, we don't have that. So
Made me think of
well,
that.
at least in our at least in our Western civilization, like that's not even a thing. So
No,
yeah,
no.
that could be fun. But I think actually
Nice.
that's made me think of something
Hmm.
when it comes to say injury rehab as well. So the idea that you have just this one outlet, this one thing that you rely on, and then when it's
Okay.
gone, you just realize that oh shit, this is the only thing that I had, uh, and now that I don't have it, there's a big problem. So it happens a lot with people who pick up injuries, and the mode of training that potentially contributed to it. So let's say just running. You know,
Okay.
somebody's a keen runner, and
Hmm.
they love running, and the only thing that kind of helps them get through a stressful day is to go running,
Yeah.
and then you pick up an injury. I've had this happen with someone before as well, where
Hmm.
they had a back problem and they just couldn't give up running because it was the thing that kept them going through their days, managing their stresses.
I get that.
And yeah, but the problem was is like, well, if you keep doing this, you're on a one-way ticket. Basically, is like there's only so much you can fend off while continuing on. Well, continue to do the thing that is actually currently causing you the problem. So,
Hmm.
and so it was a good lesson for me at the time as well of understanding how to create other outlets for yourself and making sure you just don't have just one thing which is your say stress reliever or your mode of exercise which is going to keep
Yeah.
you healthy and fit
Yeah.
or because if it goes out the window for whatever reason
Hmm.
then you need to have an alternative like during the pandemic a good one is like gyms get shut down. So
Yeah.
if the only thing you've got going for you is being at a gym or lifting some weights, if there's like that ability to adapt isn't quite there, then yeah, the anxiety kicks in. You start to feel like you're gonna lose any kind of progress you've been making, and and the stress rises as well because it's like okay,
Hmm.
this is my outlet and I don't have it right now, and so it's what's valuable about this experience is to be like I need other ways of getting my fix, if you want to call it that. I need other ways to make sure I'm staying in shape, and over the years, me personally, I've tried to cultivate different ways of doing that,
Yeah.
so
Me
that
too.
yeah, so at least there's something else that I can do. You know,
Hmm.
is so running, for example, in recent times it brought out some movement deficiencies in my body, and if I carried on going that way I for sure would have just destroyed my knee, because it just wasn't because my stability on my right limb just wasn't quite there. So I've
Okay.
been working on that, but during that period of working on that I could work with a kettlebell. I could do some conditioning workouts with a
Yeah.
kettlebell,
Nice.
and that wouldn't. There was certain things which I realized, okay, that is actually still creating a problem, but there were other things which I realized, actually, no, that's not. That's in fact, that's actually helping me. So,
Yeah.
so So I found a different thing to do, or I had a different thing I could rely on. And then same, yeah, like jiu-jitsu is another one. Is like I love doing it. I love getting my ass handed to me a few times a week, but
Hmm.
obviously over the last 16 months just hasn't been a thing. 18 months now nearly, just hasn't really been a thing.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
except for, luckily I got a mate who lives 15 minutes away, and once in a while we were able to just get our heads back in the game and just
Yeah, nice.
roll. And so if I didn't have other options like going for a run or doing some kettlebells or doing some home training or just some movement like animal flow stuff, there's and even just going for a walk, like they've never ever underestimate the power and the
Never.
value of doing a brisk walk, because that is, it's just so helpful for you in terms of just like mentally and physically.
Mm.
And and um, and so yeah, so if I didn't like kind of build up that bank of stuff or didn't have the wherewithal to kind of explore different things, then it just means that I would have lost I would have lost a lot. I probably would have lost my mind during this whole
Yeah.
period. And I don't say that lightly. It's like it's one of those things where you lose your outlets, you lose the things that bring you joy, and they're all your eggs are in one basket. Whereas
Yeah.
if you share it out a little bit, you go, okay, I've lost this thing, and nothing's going to be able to replace that. It's not going to feel as good as this. However, at least I have something else which I can do, which is still going to help me mentally and physically. So I think that's an important thing to kind of take away from it is just making sure you have the ability to branch out and not just leave all your eggs in one basket, and actually just have other things that bring you joy that you can do. Like
Yeah.
dancing is another one that came to mind. Is like, some people
Nice.
talk about just uh, like dancing, and if they can't go out dancing, and like, it's easy to just blast some music in your own space in your own living room or something, and just go to
Hmm.
town there, because that's expression, and that helps you to alleviate some tension in the body, as well as get whatever's on your mind out there as well
Yeah.
through that form of expression. So it's just yeah, there's plenty of things that you can do, I think, and it's important to keep it branched out.
I think that's really nice. And hugely important. And as you were talking, it made me think about adaptability and how I think it's really easy to restrict ourselves and pigeonhole ourselves and say, "Oh, I'm a runner. I only do running. That's the only thing I'm going to do." But actually, if so, you say like your client, or I'm sorry, I can't remember. Was your client that had an injury and they couldn't run? It's like you need to be adaptable. You need to be able to then go, and it's mindset as well. I think people can sometimes be a bit rigid in their mindset, and it's like, well, all or nothing, can't run, that's it, forget it. Um,
Yeah.
but it is okay to walk. I don't like walking. Yeah, but it's still a great way for the brain, the body, the nervous system, for everything to get that movement into your body, do something that's going to benefit your body so that you can run as well. It's like, do your
Exactly.
rehab. Oh, it's boring, but okay, so look at it like a puzzle, and you're trying to fit all the pieces together so that a game where you can then start running. I sometimes think it does take adaptability, and the pandemic has definitely shown to me it's like, okay, it's taken pretty much everything away that I loved, like wrestling, jiu-jitsu, martial arts. But even then, before then, when I was Thai boxing, it was just getting to a stage where I was like, this just isn't good for my body. It's not good for my energy. I'm struggling with this. But then I don't know, maybe it's the sort of person I am, but I'm like, what else can I do? How can I get my fix? And the
Yeah.
same with running. It's like I don't mind running, but it's not something that I really want to go out and do. So if there's other, yeah, and I'll go and do it, and sometimes it feels great, but I'm like, what else will give me that feeling? And it's like, and walking quickly, doing heavy weights. I think it's about being adaptable to a situation. It's like, okay, it's problem solving, isn't it? And it's mindset.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, this isn't working for me right now. If I carry on down this path, I'm going to get really injured. It's going to be detrimental to my health, and I'm going to do something serious. And I think it would be beneficial then, if anyone's in that situation, to go, okay, how can I help this problem? But what can I do as an alternative? You could
Yeah.
maybe go to a spin class if that's something that suited you, or just change and adapt the method of your training. And I think that's what it takes. It's often to do with our minds more than by, oh, I don't want to do that. It's like, yeah, but
Mm.
if you carry on down this path, you're not going to be able to do anything.
Yeah.
So you've got to change it up. Actually, when you do change it up, like with the pandemic and not being able to do martial arts, it's like, look where I am personally now. It's like, absolutely, I'll go back one day, but I found other outlets. I train weights in my mate's garden. Like, it's just, there's always a way, isn't there?
Yeah.
It just takes adaptability and mindset and that mentality, I think, as
Hmm.
well.
Yeah, exactly. It's it's yeah, it's part of like yeah, just gaining that resilience as well, and then like also,
Nice.
I mean, that helps build confidence in one way in the sense that you're like, okay, whatever comes my way, I know I can adapt to it as well, right? So it's
And
just
that helps in so many areas when you can do that.
yeah, yeah, exactly. It's just and and that's important because it's just basically it's taking information that's changing and being like, okay, well, what can I do with this, you know? So another thing it makes me think of is like clients coming at you, or at least coming at me with specific ideas around, say, nutrition. Is like, I must eat this way, and I must have no more than
Yes.
this many calories to make sure that I'm going to say lose weight.
Hmm.
And it's and so the thing is, any kind of deviation from that means that you're an automatic failure, right? So that's the kind of pressure that people put on themselves with that kind of thing, as well as
Mm.
living and dying the by fulfilling that criteria every single time.
Mm.
And really, it's not conducive to healthy living. So if you don't have that kind of way of approaching it, where you are adaptable, as you say,
Mm.
where you're just looking at it and being like, okay, well, this is say this is useful for a period of time, or but there's this it, like the in that scenario is like I've got such little room for maneuver that how likely is it that I can sustain this way of being? It's like, well, you can't. So you have to be able to
No.
figure out alternatives for that and realize that, okay, well, in a given situation, yeah, sure, if I'm holed up at home and I'm in complete control of what I'm eating, then I can I can stick by this and I can do this. But it's like, okay, yeah, but what if like slightly deviates from that,
Mm.
just a little bit, and it's like, okay, well, I can't do this. So you have to have some principles in place which allow for that adaptability rather than a stringent
Yes.
method. And so when you start to think about the different ways you can approach that problem, is
Hmm.
you start to end up you create that adaptability, and it means you're more resilient to change as well. So it doesn't matter what gets thrown at you, you can still work out what is best for you to do in that scenario. And yeah, like using that kind of nutrition example, like clients will come at me with that particular way of doing things,
Mm.
and then have the idea that they've screwed up if they haven't followed that, and then instead, like in a lot of ways, it's kind of like not really telling them, like, hey, this is because if you're coming with such a strong belief around it, then it's kind of like,
Mm.
when somebody believes something, you can tell them like, here's evidence to the contrary, and they're like, well, they just get more and more entrenched in their
Yes.
belief. So you got that cognitive
Yeah.
bias. So
Yeah.
in that stage, it's not really worth saying anything about it, depending on the kind of person it is. And so when it starts to fall apart, that's when there's an opportunity to introduce that change. So then it's like, for
Mm.
them, it feels like it's falling apart. For me, it's like, here's an opportunity to do something different, which is going to serve you better. So another you've got another outlet, you've got another tool in
Mm.
your toolbox to help you get to where you're going. You've got another way of approaching this, which doesn't mean that you have to fail. And so every time we've hit any kind of roadblock, it's like, okay, let's troubleshoot this. Let's figure out a different way of doing this. Great, let's troubleshoot. Let's figure out another way of doing this. And then
Mm.
by the time we're finished, you got like 5, 6 different ways of approaching the same problem, so that you are never left feeling like I'm screwed or
Yeah.
I've got no
Nice.
answer for this. So it's always a case of figuring it out as figuring out that there are different ways of approaching a problem, and
Hmm.
and coming up with a solution, and using the one that best suits you at that time, which doesn't mean that you're say which doesn't marry you to that solution as well.
Yeah. That's really cool. The nutrition example is such a big one, isn't it? Because
Mm,
I feel like sometimes when people have found a way of eating, it almost becomes like a it almost becomes about control, doesn't it?
mm,
And being very, very rigid within that nutritional, that diet, whatever it is. And I don't know, it's hard, but because I feel like there's other stuff going on behind that. There's psychological stuff. It's like I must eat 1,200 calories a day or this is going to happen. It's a form of
mm.
control, isn't it? So allowing someone to let go of that control is almost like it's like almost like a bit of trust, isn't it? You're
Yes.
asking someone to trust you that it is okay to not rigidly eat 1,200 calories a day, and that you're not going to put on loads of weight. You're not going to lose all the gains that you've had. Do you know what I mean?
Mm,
And it is hard. And it does take time. And again, it comes back to this whole idea of adaptability. It's like I think you can't just tell someone it's going to be okay. I know, it's almost like they have to slowly, incrementally put it in and see week by week that, oh, if they do overeat, not all the time, not crazily, it's not going to put them off track. It's not going to put them
mm.
off kilter. Do you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
there are other ways of looking at stuff. It isn't just 1,200 calories. And, and I know lots of people that have done things like Weight Watchers and that. And it is so, it's almost obsessive. Like you can
Mm-hmm.
get quite obsessed with points and calories and this kind of thing. And I think it is just about letting it go a little bit and knowing that it's okay and that you will get back on track. And there are other methods, there are other ways. It's not one way or the highway. Um, and yeah, it's not forever. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's hard for people to, once they've found a tried and tested method that works for them, it's hard to let them relinquish that control. And I guess that's your job. I don't really do nutrition, but your job as a personal trainer and a nutrition coach, it's your job to kind of go, no, hey, take my hand, it's okay. There are other methods, there are other ways. And me as a rehab teacher, it's like, okay, when someone comes to you and you're their often their last resort, or they've tried everything else and nothing's working, or they've done certain things and that helped for a bit, and then they come to you and you're like, okay, let's try another way. Let's try stuff that I've learned. That's all I can really give you, is stuff that I know that has worked for me and works for other people. And this is the anatomy, and this is the most up to date anatomy and corrective strategies that we know in the field. And let's try it that way and see what happens. So I think it's again, it comes back to mindset as well with people, that they have to be open to trying stuff and not shut down. No, no, no,
Yeah.
that's not going to work. I think they have to be ready for it as well.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You got to be ready for it, and the fact that they've approached you means that they are ready. So it's like they want that change, but then there's all these other barriers that come in there as well, that get
Yeah,
put up as well. It's like, okay,
yeah,
I'm here. That means I want that change, but also really apprehensive because you might have tried a million different things, and you're like,
yes,
what's going to be even different
yeah.
about this? And then you have your belief systems about what will work and what won't work. It's like, and we can
Mhm.
show them, like, say for example, we can mention an exercise or show them an exercise, and they'll be like, oh yeah, we've done that before, it doesn't work. It's like, no, you haven't done it like we know how it works,
This
right?
way. Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, because
yeah.
there's very much like, it's like, yeah, what's, I don't know, I can't think of off the top of my head like a really straightforward one that many people want. Actually,
Just breathing,
people might,
G.
well, yeah,
Just
breathing
breathing,
actually, yeah, that's
and
true.
and
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 then
and
like a
a dead
cat
bug.
cow.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Whatever.
exactly. That's it. Yeah. So yeah, people might be familiar with those. Like, and then yeah, cat cow is another one as well. People might have seen that in done yoga classes and stuff. And but the thing is is like specificity is key, right?
Oh,
So you can
100%.
just throw yourself into the movement. It's like, yeah, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. It's like, yeah, but if
Sorry.
it's you just yeah, exactly. Just waving through it, and then there's like, yeah, there's it's completely mindless, and like you're not actually getting anything out of it because you're not helping your spine move fluidly in a coordinated manner
Correct.
because you're just basically doing what your body already knows how to do.
Yeah.
And since you're somebody who's in pain, that's not the way we want to do it. We want to approach it differently. So yeah, we're going to do cat cow, but we're going to do it in a completely different way than you've ever experienced before. Same with breathwork. Same with
Hmm.
dead bug. So yeah, dead bug's like, you see it getting like there's a million different YouTube videos on like, get your legs and hands up in the air while you're lying on your back, and then just extend your legs out and extend your arms out, and you're fine. It's like when you're doing this properly, like there's hardly anybody who can extend their leg out and extend their arm out with a level of control in their core that is required of them to
Yeah.
be stable as possible. And then there's like bird dog's another classic one as well. So people doing bird dog, and it's like I'm going to reach out. So I'm on all fours, and I'm going to reach out my arm, and I'm going to reach back my opposite leg,
Mm.
and every time somebody does that, they're just breaking at the spine. They're just moving through the spine. It's like, no, you're
Arching.
supposed to have a the neutral spine in this to aid your core activation, to get the muscles coordinated properly so that the core muscles are supporting your spine,
Yeah.
and not moving like that. And so everybody kind of like loses hope with these kinds of exercises, thinking, oh yeah, this isn't going to make a difference. It's like, no, you just
Mm.
need to approach it differently. There's a better
Agreed.
way of doing it. So
Mm.
so yeah, so there's all that kind of stuff that you got to deal with when somebody comes in as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, but the key that you said, like you said, it is just openness. Is like, okay, even if you have tried like that exercise before, be open to the way that it's getting coached to you, and then
Mm.
realize that there's a nuance, but that nuance makes a massive difference.
Yeah.
And then yeah, then you're good to go. And then take it and just take action as well. Is like, don't just like be there, and like the only time you're going to work on this thing is when you're in a session with Jude or myself or something. It's like, no, that's not how this thing works. It's like you've got
Mm.
to take ownership, and you've got to do the work outside of those sessions, because sessions with us make up like the tiniest part of your tiniest part of your fraction
One
of your week.
hour. Yeah.
Yeah. So it could be an hour out of 168 in a week, and you got to be contending with, how your day-to-day life is lived, in the sense that the positions you find yourself in, you might need to change up how. So your workstation, for example, could be the thing that's throwing off your pain symptoms, and so that 1 hour session is going to not mean a lot compared to the fact that you're going to be spending 8 hours a day in in this position, which is irritating your
Yeah.
symptoms. So um, you got to do the work around it. You
Yeah.
got to put in the efforts around it as well, and just never have that mentality of, oh, I'm here to get my fix. I'm here to get fixed up.
Mm.
It's like no one can offer you that.
Mm-mm.
No one's gonna say,
Not
well, if
beneficial.
anybody who says they are going to fix you is a bit of a charlatan, really. It's
Mm.
like they can say to you, yeah, do what I got for you, and you'll you'll get the result you want. And but it's dependent on the individual putting in the work as well. Like broadly, like that's what covers it. Really, is just making sure that you do the work, and you'll get there eventually.
I
And
agree. Yeah. I like what you said about openness as well. And I think that's important not only for our clients or, people that come and see us, but also for us as teachers and trainers. It's like, I was thinking about it, I think yesterday or the other day, just how I want to feel like I'm open enough to receive information that maybe goes against what I've learned. It's like, yeah, I know about breathing. Yeah, I know about core and spinal stability, anatomy, whatever. But someone might just come in with some information that I don't know or I don't agree with. And I'd like to think that I wouldn't meet that with resistance and as I suppose ego, but more just be open to going, okay, show me and let me understand. I think as we maybe as like NKT guys and like I feel like we know a lot within the rehab world and we've been taught really, really well, but I really hope that I don't come across as, I don't know, arrogant. I'm like, oh no, that's wrong. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like I want to be open to everything. I want to understand. I think it's I was looking at courses the other day and I'm like, what is it that I want to do? You know, I want to learn more about functional movement and this kind of stuff. But it's like, but then I was like, have I been spoiled by what I know already? And am I going to think that's wrong? Do you know what I mean? So it's like I want to be open enough but also knowledgeable enough to know that okay, no, that the knowledge I have is probably a little bit more in depth, and maybe that's not. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like I just want to be open enough that I don't poo-poo stuff that I think's not. I don't know the same knowledge that I have. So I think it's about being
Yeah.
open.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. No, you have to be as a coach as well, because there's like like, there's many methods out there. You'll see lots and lots
Mm.
of methods, but the thing is, the ones that are working are following the same principles. Essentially, is what we're finding. So, if you're looking at something and principally you're like, yeah, that makes sense, then fine. But if it's something
Mm.
completely wild, there's like somebody's like, oh yeah, this is gonna be the next best thing, and it got you standing on a Swiss ball and carrying some weights while you're at it. It's like,
Nah,
probably not.
probably not.
you know.
No.
So so it's like, yeah, that's maybe not the best way to start you off,
Yeah.
let's say.
Yeah. Yeah.
So but exactly, entirely. And especially, following that wonderful Dunning-Kruger effect of a graph, where you learn a little bit about something and then you're supremely overly confident about that thing that and you think that's the thing.
Never.
Yeah, exactly. And then you start to go a little bit further down the knowledge track, and then your confidence starts to come down a little bit, because you just realize, oh wait, shit, I really don't know anything. And
Shit gets got real. Yeah.
then yeah, you start to notice that there's a lot more to what you know. So I was guilty of it as well, especially early days. It was like just seeing things and then being like, okay, body works in patterns. So if something wasn't done in a pattern, it was like, oh, this is terrible for you. And it's like me now, it's like, oh, you silly boy, you silly boy. It's like, no, that's not how it
Oh,
works.
bless. That's
Yeah,
great. It's like a learning
yeah.
curve, isn't it? It's like now I'm like, and it's always a big thing with Pilates teacher. It's like no belly button to spine, no pulling up the pelvic floor. We know better than that, but so many courses still teach that, and so it's like I know I've moved on from there, and I don't mean that in an arrogant way. It's just like it's just
You should,
I've
you should
done
do that
I've
more
done
often. Yeah.
I've done the anatomy and I've sat with the anatomy for so long. I've incorporated it into my practice. I've listened to so many people and I'm like, yeah, that might work for like certain exercises at certain moments, but we do not cue. I will always come back to this. This is like my bugbear, isn't it? But we do not cue navel to spine, pull the pelvic floor up pretty much ever.
Yeah, shouldn't.
Please don't.
Yeah,
But
so
yeah,
just don't do it. We got a better
just
way
don't do
for
it.
you.
Just don't. I mean, at times it is going to do that. It's going to happen, but not for every single exercise. So yeah, it's just I think that's what it is. It's like I've moved away from that. I understand more. So it's like, where am I going to go next? Because I don't want to be taught that. So where in my courses, my movement courses, am I going to go next? What am I going to explore? So that's what I mean. It's like I just want to be open enough to go, oh no, to not go like that, and to know what the right path is as well.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And yeah, just don't knock any path as well. It's like,
No,
especially, I mean, like in rehab world as well. I'm like, I believe that bodybuilding gets a really bad rap, and
yeah, and it shouldn't,
it's like,
really
yeah, it
shouldn't.
shouldn't, because I mean, if you do it well, there's it can actually, it will help you rehab. It will actually help you
Bloody science,
do it
honestly.
properly. Bloody
Yeah.
science.
It's just bloody it's bloody scientific is what I meant to say. It's like
Right.
there's such structure to their bodybuilding
So,
methods.
yeah, that was hilarious.
Sorry.
It's bloody science. I was like, whoa, what kind
What?
of passionate preaching are you doing now? It's like, it's bloody science. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Haven't had any sleep.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I suppose like having done bodybuilding methods for a few months now where they isolate lots of muscles and we work on that muscles. I'm like, there's nothing wrong with this because for the longest time I was like, no, it's got to be really functional. We've got to use the whole body and like
Mm,
stabilize and stand on one leg and move a weight like that. And it's like, there's so much benefit to just isolating a muscle. There
mhm.
really is. Like, obviously, not just doing that, but isolating a muscle, working on it, getting it stable, getting it moving, and moving on. It's like, it's great. And there's like, what I mean is like, there's so much science behind bodybuilding techniques and the whole way that you would maybe work up to a show or whatever it is that you're doing that I'm like, kudos to these people. Like,
Mm,
I will never, and that's the thing about being open again, isn't it? It's like,
mhm.
I'm, and I probably did in the past go, oh no, no, it's never ever poo poo a method. Like, try it before you like put it down. Do you know what I mean? See how it
Yeah,
works in your body.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Is yeah, I mean, like the way that they manipulate exercises and stuff as well, like
Oh, I know.
in yeah, like strength curves, resistance profiles, and stuff like that, which is just basically getting you to do an exercise in a certain range, which biases a certain strength profile of the
Yep.
muscle that you're aiming for, and yeah, it's impressive. It's impressive stuff.
It's
Again,
so
like when it's
impressive.
yeah, when it's done well, it's not like that bro science way of just doing like back and buys or like chest and buys for like 3 months straight and like 4 times a week, and which I have been there as well, being an 18, 19-year-old dickhead, just just being like, yeah, this is all I need, right? This is what everybody says. This is what you have to do. Um,
It.
and then yeah, and then you're just like, oh no, 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 don't do that, don't do that,
Don't
and
just do that,
yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's not like that way. It's like there's like you said, it's bloody science. You know, there's a scientific way of approaching it, and when you do, you realize that it's part of the toolkit. Basically, you want to
Massive.
use it as part of the toolkit to help people. When it, again in our world in injury rehab, you want to use it. I mean, like
It's
even with like
huge.
NKT, because the idea is to
Yes.
find those muscle pairings, or like the pairings which producing the dysfunctional movement pattern, and then when you correct that imbalance, then it knocks that imbalance out, and you get your body back
Yeah.
coordinated and efficient again. But but to but to be sure that you're targeting the right thing, you try and isolate as much as possible.
Isolate
And
that movement
so
pattern. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So you isolate that movement pattern, and then get that working, and then integrate it with the rest of the system.
Hmm.
So yeah, there's no knocking anything really.
No way.
There's value to
No.
everything. It's just about how it's done.
Yeah. And I would, and this is the thing, like, I'm going to come back to the Pilates method. It's like, I'm never going to knock it because that's how I learned it. And you go online or wherever and you do a class and yeah, you're going to feel your abs and you're going to work your abs and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just when you're rehabbing people, it's potentially not the only thing and the best thing to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I'm honored to have experienced so many different ways. It's like when we train in wrestling and jiu-jitsu and all the rolling warm-ups and all that stuff. I mean, some of them are insane, and you're rolling backwards and you're rolling off your neck, and it's like this stuff is hard. And so and when I used to train in Thailand with Thai boxing. It was old school. They used to like hold a rope in their mouth and weights attached, and to strengthen their neck, they'd just be going up and down, and
Yeah.
you just crack on and do it because that's what everyone else is doing it. And it was proper old school training, but it's sport specific as well. So there's a lot of that, and I don't know how they do it today in the Thai boxing gyms in Thailand, but I doubt very much they've moved on
Hmm.
beyond that.
Right.
And you know what? The fighters are phenomenal, and it works. But
Yeah.
obviously, time and a place for holding a
Yeah.
rope and moving up
Yeah.
and down.
Exactly. This is important actually to say that. It's a time and a
Time and a
place.
place.
It's
Just don't do.
it's
Just,
like
I'm just like, "Hey, yeah, let's have a go at strengthening my neck
yeah.
muscles." It's like,
Yeah,
no, within
exactly.
a Thai boxing regime, maybe.
Yeah. But also it's like, yeah, we'll just make sure you have like you're not just hinging off on one point in your neck, you're just
Oh no,
actually able to
I
use your
don't think there
spine.
was anyone like, telling them
Caring
how
about
to do
that.
it. No.
Yeah.
I mean, and then they'd like lie on the side of the gym and like be like that with a weight
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's all about clinching, isn't it? So
Yeah.
I don't know. Brilliant. But yeah, just
Yeah.
don't knock anything. Don't knock it till you tried it.
Yeah, exactly. And if you try it and you're like, nah, not for don't like it, doesn't work. It's like, okay, cool. Just don't enjoy it. You don't like it. It doesn't work for you. Again, doesn't necessarily mean it's not going to work for anyone else as well. So it's
Exactly.
like, you do you, I'll do me,
Yeah.
and don't get all
That's how I
dogmatic
feel.
and preachy about it as well. Yeah,
Super important.
yeah. Loads of people end up doing that. I think that's something worth maybe talking about as well.
Mm.
Is dogma in health and fitness. You get a lot of people going, again, nutrition's the easiest one to pick on
Mm.
because there's so much crazy talk in nutrition, and so many people just bellowing off their pedestals, talking
Oh, I
about this
know.
is the way or that is the
I
way.
know.
Okay, so people like going on is like vegan is the only way forward.
Oh, I
It's
know.
it's like not just for your health. It's like that's how we're going to save the planet. It's like, yeah, right. Okay, cool. I mean,
Okay.
it's a controversial statement because that's not necessarily true. Then everybody's like, the only way forward is what is it? You got the paleo crowd, and then you got like, you got vegetarianism, and then you got like, I think with vegetarianism as well, that's just taken a backseat because vegans came along and
Yeah,
it
I
just
agree.
or like those militant vegans, let me say, they came along and just started harping on a lot about that as well. Whereas vegetarianism is just like sitting there in the background now, it's just doing its thing. It's like if you're vegetarian, great. If you're not, fine. Whereas like against with people who get militant about it is
Oh my
what
God, I
you're
know.
not vegan? How could you not be
Why
vegan?
not?
Is like, yeah, why
Have
not?
you seen the state of the animal industry? It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I do know about that, and it is awful. But yeah, I don't know what to say about that. So yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, you got people who are like, the only carnivore diet, and
Mm,
you got keto, and then you've
mm.
got like, high carb, low fat. It's just it's
It's
everywhere,
insane.
and yeah, and there's so many different things, and everybody's saying this is the one way, this is the only way, that you should be eating, and you got like people touting. I mean, it's complicated, and like everybody's just
So
saying,
complicated. It is.
yeah, because there's so much at play, but there's so many people who try and be like, this is the one way, and it's like, well, no, it's not. It's literally there's so much that goes into it. I mean, even your genetics goes into it as well. For example, I'm being an Indian origin, I'm going to be able to handle white rice probably better than most people can handle white rice in terms of the effect it has on them.
Yeah.
Other people, just because that's what that's the country that I grew up in. We just had tons of rice, and
You're
then you got
right.
other people like let's say the Inuit in Alaska or something or wherever it
Hmm.
is. They have a high fat diet, and everybody's like, yeah, look at how healthy they are. It's like there's a context for this, and
Yes.
so
Yes.
and the context is this is the environment that they grew up in, and then they're genetically predisposed to be able to do this kind
Yeah.
of thing, and that's part of it. So there's the context gets stripped away,
Mm.
and that's confusing for a lot of people, or rather, the by stripping the context away, I think people are trying to make it have oversimplified it,
Yes.
oversimplified things, and then people try and go and follow that oversimplified way of being, and it's just confusing because then it's like, well, okay, well, if I'm gonna eat this way, what if I wanted to have some ice cream or something? What is that? Is that vegan? Is that full of dairy? Does that count
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
paleo? Is like, you're going to
I don't
ask
know.
yourself all these kinds of
Yeah.
questions, and like you're essentially throwing on other things that you need to think about, other criteria into the
Mm,
equation that you need to start thinking about, which you don't really. And and so the dogma confuses a lot of people as well. It's like by
mm,
saying, shouting out and being like, this is the best way, that's the best way, this is the best way, that's the best way, for this health reason, for that health reason. People like spout off like study after study after study, saying, this study proved this study proved that. It's
I
like, it's
know.
really really hard to do good quality nutrition research. And a lot of the things that end up getting found out is usually based on observational studies, and just like longitudinal studies of just observing people over a long period of time, and epidemiological studies, which is just like, here's an association that we found, like here's a correlation. Because one of the and like one of them is, there's just so many that hit me at once. So I was like, which one do I choose? But one of them
Mm,
being meat is bad for you if you're having meat more than twice a week. If you're having red meat more than twice a week, it's
I
bad for
know.
you. It's like, again, context completely stripped away. Is like, what kind of meat
Yeah.
are we talking about? Are we talking about processed meat or unprocessed meat? Are we talking
Yeah.
about industry farmed meat, or are we talking about grass fed, let's say, what would be the opposite of industry farmed? It's just like locally farmed, properly farmed, cared for
Yes.
animals, creating good quality meat, and just like not doing not feeding them on a natural diet to fatten them up so that they look the way you want them to look, so you can sell it.
Mm,
It's more, actually, is this animal and actually a healthy animal that I can eat? So then stuff like that confuses people, and
yeah.
yeah, it's just part of the environment that we've created as well, which is the complications of the environment that we've created. Is
Yeah.
you go, okay, well, industry farmed is basically the most common type of food that somebody's going to get. So where do you go from there? You have to source your food a lot more diligently. So there's just basically, it's all to say, there's so much crap out there. There's so much
Yeah.
crap information out there, and so much dogmatic crap information out there, that it makes people believe that you have to eat a certain way, and if you don't, then you're never going to be healthy. You're never going to be satisfied. You're not going to be
Yeah.
in the body that you want to be in, and you're not going to look the way that you want to look. And the truth is, it's a lot more complicated than that. And essentially, it comes
Really.
down to you being able to do something and stick to something which is a healthful, mostly whole foods based diet,
Yes.
which suits you in how you consume it, whether that is vegan, whether that is paleo, whether it is carnivore, as long as you feel like, as long as it's serving the purposes of your goals and your way of living, and you feel healthy and you are healthy, it's not detrimental to you,
Yeah. I agree.
then keep doing that. And like, just basically forget about what people are saying about this is the right way to go, that's the right way to go. Is just,
Yeah.
you're going to have to figure out what your right way is.
Yeah.
And invariably, it's got nothing to do with whether you're following a particular type of diet or not, of this a vegan diet or a vegetarian diet or a paleo diet. It's just mostly to do with you getting your right level of nutrients in you for this lifestyle that you lead. And and yeah, and basically running with that.
It's so individualized. And I can tell you my story. So
Yeah.
a few years ago, again, probably quite a stressful time. And I got something which the doctors don't really recognize, but it was called adrenal fatigue. And the symptoms of adrenal fatigue are things like I'd wake up and I'd be tired. I'd have an all right night's sleep. I had a young child, but I'd wake up and be all right for like the first half an hour, and then I'd just crash and be tired, like dead tired for the rest of the day. And then what happens is you get your energy at the end of the day, and so suddenly by 6 o'clock I was bam. It's like you were just upside down the wrong way round. I was having really weird heart palpitations, and I was getting like panic attacks, anxiety, but it was the breathing. I couldn't take a full breath. Like they thought I had low iron, and I went to see a naturopath. Um,
When was this?
and this was it was about 2000. So 2012,
Okay.
2012, 2013. Um, and it was quite a special time. And I think I'd had a really bad flu, and it all started to happen after that. Everything just started to get a bit weird, and I was just like, there's just something not right with me. I just don't feel good. I feel my body feels out of control. And the only way I can describe it as well is, other than the heart palpitations and the real inability to take a good breath, is that I felt like there was just a strobe in my body, and I just couldn't, it just felt like everything was struggling. And I was just dead tired, and all the bloods were coming back that I didn't have low thyroid or anything like that. Like there was nothing much going on. And I went to see a naturopath, but before I went to see the naturopath, I saw, I can mention her or not, but I basically turned vegan because of someone online saying that she had like had an autoimmune disorder and that she'd fixed it through becoming vegan. So I was like, great, I'll have a go. So I became vegan for about 8, 9 months, and oh my God, it did nothing for me. I mean, it dropped my energy down. I actually
Right.
became anemic. Um,
Yeah.
and I know that you can get iron from vegetables and things like that, but I think for someone like me, it just wasn't working, and I just got worse and worse and worse, and the fatigue just got really, really bad. And it was that was it. My hair was falling out. There was
Bloody
just
hell.
loads going on. Yeah, it was bad. I mean, I've got a lot of hair, but it was just falling out in clumps. It was really thinning, and I was just like, I need some help. So I found this naturopath, and she was like, let's just, do some tests. Like, let's just have a look at, all your systems. Um, and she was just like, she put me on a natural diet, like natural whole food diet, Mediterranean diet, she liked to call it, 80/20 rule, where 80% of the time you eat really well, 20% you have a bit of what you fancy. It was like fish, oily fish, nuts, seeds, grains, it was all the really good stuff, quality chicken, quality, like grass fed, everything, bit of beef, um, pasta, everything. But she was like, you need to regulate your body. She put me on these herbs as well. I had to take loads of magnesium, loads of flaxseed, just stuff to dial down my immune system and just reduce inflammation. And over the space of about 6 months, I recovered. But I was bad. I was really bad. And I'm not poo-pooing veganism. Absolutely no way. But for someone like me who requires, I think, more of a meat-based diet, like really high quality meats, fish and things like that, it just worked better for me to do that rather than all out. Do you know what it is with veganism as well? It's like you open the fridge and you're like, vegetables again, okay, and it was just, I just found it really hard.
Yeah. Like,
Mushrooms and quinoa, brilliant.
yeah.
I really missed meat, and maybe that's just my mindset, but I felt so much better once I regulated my system and ate a more natural whole food diet, and that's the
Yeah.
diet that I have now. So,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's a common problem to have with veganism is like you start to miss out on the essential fatty acids. You start to miss out
mm,
on protein. You start to miss out on iron because the most bioavailable source is from red meat, for example. So,
sure.
so yeah, it ends up it's like, okay, yeah, it sounds like a good idea in principle. You're going to eat a lot more vegetables, but you need to make sure that you're hitting your protein requirements and you're hitting your nutrient
Huge.
requirements,
Yeah.
and that can be difficult. So especially so let's talk about essential fatty acids there as well. Like a lot of people
Mm,
will know about omega threes, and you're going to need omega threes to help
yeah.
combat any inflammation in the body and just help with brain functional and cardiovascular health and
Mm,
all that kind of stuff. But oily fish is the best place to get that in so that you can actually use it. Whereas if you're not getting it from there, it takes about something like 10 times more from
serious.
like non animal sources like
Wow.
flaxseed, chia seeds. What's the other one? There's another one in there, but flaxseed and chia seeds tend to be the common ones. But it takes about 10 times as much
So,
to get it from those sources because it's not
yeah,
in that
it's a lot of
bioavailable
seeds.
form. And that bioavailability just basically means what can your body use. And
Mm,
and they have to go through extra processes in the body, and it just doesn't end up being the amount that you need as much as well. So you have to be on top of that kind of thing as well. So
Yeah.
it's and yeah, it sounds like, yours was a classic case of that as well. So again, like you said, not knocking it. It works well. It's just as long as you're doing it well. It's like with
Yeah.
any, again, essentially like with any diet, any kind of nutrition protocol, any kind of way
Mm.
of eating, is like you just have to do it well. You just have to know what you're getting out of it, in terms of what your body's getting out of it. So yeah, I can understand how that screwed you up even more.
Mm. It is. It's so individualized. Like I think if someone's system is working on point, everything's functioning really, really well, then yes, veganism is going to be fine. But for someone like me who probably needs protein sources from lots of different places, who doesn't function as well, maybe, then a whole foods diet is going to be the way forward. Like I don't work well on restricted low calorie diets where I've even looked when I was fight training. Yeah, I never had a fight, but when I was fight training, I would do like Weight Watchers, and I was eating things like
Hmm.
low sugar yogurts and things like that, and it never benefited my body. So I know now, going into prep transformation, that, and I have a meal plan that it is like complex carbs, high quality protein, fats. Like you've got to prep with bit B complex, all this sort of stuff. So I know my body will be fine. Like you have to be so careful, and what works for one person doesn't work for another. So when I listen to people
Yeah.
going, "Oh, this is my way. I only eat meat. I only eat that," it's like that's great for you and that's brilliant. But that rigidity, it's like you must do this. It's like, no, I'm not going to do that because my body energetically works well like this. I cannot be a vegan because of my lifestyle. I have to have this, and this in order to do my job, look after my kid, do heavy weightlifting, and do everything else. Do you know what I mean? So I find it very hard when people are quite blinkered in their you
Yeah.
should eat this because this is what I think works best. It's like, well, that
Yeah.
doesn't work for me.
Yeah, exactly. What would be interesting to find out is if, say, you equated your nutrients on a vegan diet to the diet that you currently have, and if it would
Mm,
have, if there's no change, or if there is a change, then it's like, okay, well, yeah, maybe your body just isn't suited to having plant-based stuff, that
yeah.
much. That's the thing to take into account, because
Mm,
that's the that's a big thing to take into account, which is making sure you're equating for those nutrients.
yeah.
So it's like you can get it all. So imagine you could get all the omega 3s, you could get all the essential amino acids from your proteins, because with animal-based proteins, you pretty much get all the essential amino acids, and these are amino acids basically that your body can't produce. So you have to consume
Okay.
them from food, and
Right.
they're vital for your vitality, for helping you build muscle,
Mm,
retain muscle mass. But obviously, proteins are doing tons of other things in the body. So you need those essential amino acids. And with a vegan diet, you tend not to have that. I think soy is pretty much the only thing that has all the essential amino acids. I think
which
that's
isn't
right.
great to eat in big quantities, right? Am I right in saying that having soy in big quantities isn't brilliant if you are not of menopause age? Do you know what I mean? Or a male, or is that disputed?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's disputed. I know, like, I don't think it's as clear cut
Okay.
as people make it out to be. So the reason why people might suggest that is because of the, I think, xenoestrogens,
Questions, yeah.
or phytoestrogens or something like that. It's just
Mm,
basically you end up finding estrogenic compounds in other, like, say, in foods like soy, and the idea behind that is if you consume too much of that, then it can mess with hormone balances. So I can't, like, I haven't looked into that in the longest time. So
mm.
last time I heard is like, yeah, there is potential for that. I don't know where it stands right now. So yeah, I think, yeah, and it's like with most other stuff as well. It's just making sure you don't have too much of it,
Yeah,
and it's true.
like
So it's
anything.
like, yeah, if your only source of protein is going to be soy, and again, it's like there's the bioavailability aspect of it there as well. Is like if you need to be consuming like 1.5 grams of protein, let's just make an easy number, 2 grams of protein per
Hmm.
kilo of body weight. Then with animal protein, it's easy to attain because you can
Yeah,
use
mega.
that protein like straight away, but like much more readily. Whereas with say consuming soy, it's nowhere near as bioavailable as animal protein, so you'd probably have to consume more
Mm,
to get the same amount of protein. So
right.
yeah, so there's like there's those kinds of things that you need to consider as well. But essentially, the point I was trying to make was it'll be interesting to know is like if the nutrients you're getting at your current diet, if we could equate that in a vegan diet, and then would there be any difference in your
Yeah,
vitality?
my
So
energy. Who
yeah,
knows? I'm
in
not
your
gonna.
energy.
I'll be
Yeah,
honest. I'm not gonna experiment right now. At this, I
yeah,
probably wouldn't
exactly.
ever experiment
Yeah,
at this moment in time or any moment in time because it just
yeah.
doesn't work.
Well, like what's interesting there is obviously like seeing the look on your face and be like, nah, don't, I'm not interested in doing that. But it's these other things that we don't take into account as well. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, maybe I should eat this way. Maybe this will be a really healthy way to eat. But are you going to enjoy it? No, you're just not going to
Nah.
enjoy it. So why do
Nah.
it? Because that is affecting your mindset. That is affecting your thoughts and feelings around the foods that
Yeah.
you're consuming. We know that thoughts, feelings, perceptions, and all that kind of stuff influence our energy,
Mm.
influence our physical capacity. So why would you do that? So don't even bother. Is
No.
picking.
Exactly.
It's about picking something else that's going to work for you that you're also going to enjoy.
Absolutely. Um, I had a thought and it's just gone, but I will talk about it's the whole thing with dairy as well. It's like I work quite well on dairy. I don't have a problem with it. I will drink milk. I know that people listening might be like, yeah, but that's really bad for you, but it's like it does nothing to my system. I don't feel any worse for it. So it's like I'm going to keep doing that. It's like all everything. I feel like right now with my training, with everything, it's like everything's in balance, everything's in equilibrium. It's like I'm not going to mess with that right now. You
Yeah.
know, when I was a vegan, and that was it. So I was desperate. Like I felt dreadful, and I saw something online, and the whole story behind it was that she made herself feel better. I'm like, I'm going to do that. It's not dangerous. Like people do it online all the time. This is what everyone's trying to sell. It's like it's their story, their journey. If you want to eat that way, you can eat that way. But I guess it is just like it's just moving back to that thing of try stuff, but see what works for you. Just because it worked for one person and fix their autoimmune disorder does not mean it's going to work for you.
Yeah.
So it's about being open-minded, adaptable, bringing it back to that whole rehab idea of there are lots of different ways, there's a lot of different strategies. Try not to get fixated on one thing because if that doesn't work and you suddenly like
Yeah.
narrow-mindedly just gone that way, it's like oh shit, I've got to go and eat some chicken now, and it's like yeah, well, what are you going to do? So
Yeah. It's just when you said fixated.
get it wrong.
Because because it's fixated, and but you said fixated, which is the second part of
I've
asphyxiated.
asphyxiated.
Yeah, so you're like, yeah,
Oh,
careful. You don't get, yeah, definitely don't get asphyxiated.
don't do
But
that. Oh,
but
guys, we all
also,
know me by now that I get words wrong and I get things the wrong way round. We all know me. You all know what I mean. It's fine.
and yeah, well, basically, don't asphyxiate and don't fixate. Either one. Well, maybe there's a time and a
Oh,
place for either one of those. Like everything else, there's a time and a place.
dude, what you do in your spare time is yours. Don't bring it into here.
As I said, time and place. Don't judge anyone.
Oh, I'm now thinking back to myself like, how many things have I got wrong in my life? How much crap do I say in my classes? And people are probably like, what is she
Yeah.
saying?
I
Do you
also
know
let
what I
something
mean?
go earlier as well, which was funny to
What
me.
did I
But
say?
you were trying to say, I think you tried. Was it rigidity or something like that? You said the you said rigidity or something like that. You just basically said the GI bit twice.
It's
I can't
my
remember it now, but
brain.
we'll play it. Oh yeah, blame the brace. Yeah, easy. Yeah, it was like I didn't mean to say asphyxiate. It was my brace.
No, that was a Judaism, but rigidity, it's like that's
Judaism. Are you trying to say Judaism now?
no proper Judaism. I have Judaisms. You know this by now. Where I'm like, did I get that wrong? I got it wrong.
That's funny.
Oh,
Yeah, it
I
was
am
like yeah. We'll play it back, but there was somewhere where you said you said something to do with the word rigid,
giggly
and you said
giggly.
that you basically yeah. You just went Family Guy on it.
For
It's
my
actually,
family guy, quagmired
what's
it.
Quagmire? That's it.
Oh,
Quagmire.
quagmire,
Gig.
not quagmire.
Yeah. Giggity giggity.
Giggly giggly it.
That's
Rigidity.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. That's pretty much what you did. It was
Do you
funny.
know what? I'm so done with my brace. I'm so fed up. It just makes me so lispy. I'm just tired. I just want it off. But yeah,
How long you got
another
to
few
go with
months.
it now?
I think I've got another 4 or 5 months.
Okay, so next year.
January next year, I think.
Cool.
Um,
Have you noticed your
uh,
jaw henching out?
yeah, I think when we were on the NKT course, Sue was like, "No, your jaw doesn't get bigger." And I'm like, "I'm sure my mouth looks wider, man. I can fit my tongue in the roof of my mouth now. I'm pretty sure."
Hmm.
But it's something that I must get done is a bit of cranial because I just feel like it's all just quite tense where everything's moved in this very short space of 7 months. My entire structure of my jaw and my mouth has moved, and I just feel like it's just all quite tense. So I need to go get some
Hmm.
cranial done. Um, but yeah, I'm kind of done with having essentially gum shields in my mouth
Yeah.
24/7
Yeah.
every day. Yeah, but you know
What's it
what? It's
like?
done its job. It's brilliant.
What's it like
What's that?
eating with them on?
Although you have to take them out.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you've got to take them
And then
out.
right, and then brush your teeth and whack them back in. Yeah.
Yeah. So I brushed my teeth
Yeah.
like 20.
Otherwise, you just got like food stuck inside your braces. Is like yeah, seven
Yeah.
months later, you're just like bits of spinach and pork and
No,
whatnot just stuck
you
in there.
change the trays every week. But yeah, so I'm brushing my teeth 20 times a day, because I eat a lot. And you got to floss and all
Yeah.
that sort of stuff. So
Yeah. Good way to make you realize how much you're actually eating.
I know. I do. I don't eat a lot. That's a lie. But I
Just
do.
grazing.
I graze. Yeah, but you have
Mm.
to. And my nutrition is we'll talk about this, but we won't. But
Mm.
it's just starting to tamper down, isn't it? So
Mm.
uh,
Tam-
yeah,
Tamper?
did I do it wrong again? Taper.
Taper, tamper.
Gee, I've had no sleep.
Oh man, excellent. It's fine. I think you're
Thank
waning.
you.
I think you're waning. That's probably a time to call it there.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's no, you don't have to graze. Is the point? Is just
no,
depends on what you're doing, right?
yeah,
Is like
fun.
but yeah, yeah, let's just leave it there. Uh,
Okay.
maybe you can go for a nap. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Excellent. All right. Good chatting. Glad we made this work somehow. We
Yes, we did
pulled
it.
together and we figured out a way to get this episode out for this week. So
Oh
thank
yeah.
you for everybody tuning in. I hope you gained a lot out of that as this week. And if you did, please feel free to share it with people you know who would also get something out of it as well. Please subscribe to the show on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, or your favorite podcast playing platform. We are everywhere, so you can find us on Podcast Addict and Pocket Casts and all those different kinds of places. And please, if you're enjoying the content, please share it with people and also leave a rating and a review. That really helps us to reach more people and get the show out there. And also, subscribers are great for the algorithm gods. So please sign up and please review and rate the show and please share it with people so that we can get the good word out there. And thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.